Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. You know, I'm all about educating, empowering, and teaching awareness. And today we have the lovely artist, Valerie Watson. She's a domestic violence and mental health advocate. And we're going to talk more about the artist title because she's very creative and God showed me her true talent through art. And so I'm very grateful, Valerie, that I have you here on Purpose and Passion.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I know it's been a long time coming.
Yes, well, I'm just grateful we're here. I always believe in alignment. I always believe in timing, you know. So I'm very excited to have you here. So take our viewers, down back memory lane. Like, where are your parents from? Where did you grow up? And how was your childhood?
Um, so my dad passed away when I was 6 months old. So I never really knew him. I never knew his family. So I actually just found out that he was Portuguese.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
my
beautiful.
yeah. Thank you. And I was like really stoked. I'm like, oh, like there's something new that I'm getting to know. And so once he passed away, he they lived in LA.
Yes.
My mom moved us closer to the border because she wanted to be closer to her family because her family is in like La Paz, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. So she wanted to be closer to the border, and you know it was a struggle. Like I made videos like nearly crying, because I'm like, I don't know how she did it with three crazy ass kids. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, no, this is purpose and passion, and people sometimes curse with passion. Okay.
Yeah, how she did it with three crazy kids. And we, like, how they tell you, like, when you get older, you're going to understand. Like, and that's where I'm at. Like, I'm like, mom, I'm sorry. Like, now that I have my own kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, how'd you do it by yourself?
Yes.
I have help. Like their dads are very involved in their lives. But yeah, my childhood was really rough. It was hard. We were extremely poor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like that's when I was very rebellious, and I always knew something was off, like
Yeah.
something. So, and I also I got diagnosed with like really bad asthma when I was little. So little do I know now that I'm making more research into it. They would like pump me with like steroids, like constantly. Like my mom would come to the school. It was so embarrassing. And she would like, that's when they had like the old school like albuterol machines, and they're like,
Yes.
and I'm like, great. This is
I know, like I'm embarrassed, right?
everybody would be like, they would do it, like we would do it in the back like room, but like all the kids would like want to like peek in. And so what I find out now as I do like more research is that I shouldn't have been taking so many steroids. And
Correctly.
they kind of connect that to mental health. Like that's kind of what triggered it. Like, like I've been misdiagnosed so many times because she took me to therapy like since I was 10.
Wow.
And like they never really noticed it. And I had all the signs. Like now that, I talk to like my psychiatrist and therapist now, they're like,
Mhm.
not see these things. So yeah, so grew up pretty hard. It was, my crazy brothers and I, crazy family in general. So like we had to take care of ourselves. We did whatever we had, and I became a really young mom, and
Mhm.
that's like, okay, I'm responsible for another life.
Yes.
And at that time, like that's when I fell into like deeper depression, and I was like, okay, like something's off. I just never, you never want to accept it. You never want to admit to it. Like, okay. you know, like I'm not the same or
Mhm.
normal, as they say.
Yeah, I
So
get you. I get you. I totally understand. And the aspect of for me was postpartum. After my twins, I would have different thoughts, which weren't not good thoughts as a mother. And so I struggled with that. And I think it took 3 months, of that struggle. And you're right. It's sometimes you don't want to admit it or you don't want to talk about it. You just want it to go away.
yeah, and that's rough. I had it with my youngest, but this was like I felt like it was triggered because I had just had a friend that OD, and she was like one of my best friends. So I
Mhm.
feel like once that happened, I was just like off the rail.
Yeah. So when you had your first son, how did that turn out when you went, off rail? Like, were you able to say, "Mom, can you take care of my son?" Or like, how did that happen?
That's the thing with me that I'm like, I give myself credit. Like, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how depressed I felt, like, I took him to school, I picked him up. I was like, I'm a mom. I
Yes.
like, no one's going to do it for me. Cause my mom, she would go back and forth. So she wasn't there constantly. So she would go to Mexico for a few months and then she'd come back. And that's when, she would help. And, but yeah, I was always like, no, I gotta be here for him. I don't
Mm.
want to see me in this, like depressing mood all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was definitely a struggle because you have to push yourself. But, strong moms know what's up.
You're darn right about that. We survive. Let me tell you, boy. That's how I tell people. Sometimes when it comes to women and when we become mothers, we're survivors, and we're always on survival mode, you know? And so during that journey, you're a mom, and I remember we were talking about the domestic violence, part of being an advocate. So when did you experience domestic violence?
So I just opened up like for the first time like about this, because it's even happened in my childhood. Like
Mhm.
go back and like say millions of stories. And that's when I was like, that's not normal. Like I would tell my best friends and they're like, hey Val, like that's like not normal to live that kind of life. It started even with like teachers at school
Wow.
and like be constantly being harassed. And so like obviously that also took a toll. um and so a therapist when I was 15 years old. So the domestic violence, like I think like my first encounter was my oldest, his dad.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And we were really young when we had him. So I was like 16.
Yes. And not
Um
truly understanding like when you're 16, we truly don't understand what love is supposed to look like, you know? Um, and I
so in
learned,
you
yes,
know,
exactly.
oh, this is love, like, it's not going to happen again. It's so that happened, and then I had a few other incidents with like males in my life that I didn't like, we weren't even together. So like that's when my friends were like, you understand, like this is like not a normal way.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
like a cycle, a cycle of these relationships. Yeah, that's a deep one. I remember when I took the domestic violence course, I thought domestic violence was when a spouse or one is physically abusing the next one, or both of them are beating up on each
Yeah.
other, and or a boyfriend and girlfriend. I found out domestic violence is also me as being a child seeing, domestic violence in the home,
home.
you
Yeah.
know, being able to see it visually, and or the father, you know, as the father is having the fight and argument with the mother, and then the child jumps in and the
Ye
father backhand, that's also domestic violence. I did not know that. I thought domestic violence was just between the couple, you know. And when I learned about that, I was like, wow, now I understand why in some ways in a relationship back in the days I was the aggressor, because I remember always saying I would never allow a man to hit me
yeah.
because I didn't want to experience what I saw, you know? And back then it was normal, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To yeah. I've had moments where I've had exes, like, I was telling my friend the other day, I'm like, he had like a gun to my mouth. Like he's like, we're doing this. And I was just praying and I was like, this is how I'm gonna go.
Hmm.
Like this is it for me right now. And thankfully, like I got him to like I said whatever I could at the moment. I was like,
Yes.
hey, let's just calm down, like take a breather. And like, cause I was like, no, like I'm like, our son is sleeping like in the other room.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, like that was the first thing that jumped into my head. I'm
Yeah.
like, gonna wake up to two bodies like in the living room. So I
That'll be
just,
very traumatic for him.
of course.
Yes.
So like I said what I could, and thankfully he like got it like out, like put it
Yeah.
away. I took it like right when I noticed like I had a chance, like I took the gun and then I got myself out of the situation. Like I told him like I like kicked him out and I was like, you have to go.
Yeah, of course. And so I know in life we all go through you know, trauma, right? It's everybody experience it different. But the reason why I wanted to have you on my show, Valerie, is because to me your story is powerful for me personally, you know, and I see you for me it's a healing thing when I see you paint, you
Thank
know, and it's so beautiful. I love it. I love the art. And also, you, when you took the pictures with the balloons, I was like mental health advocate. That was beautiful. It impacted me because I'm a person with a huge heart, and not everybody can survive situations like ourselves.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like yeah, art was, it started with therapy. He was like, what's something that, you like doing? You have to put your energy into something else. And I was like in a really bad place. Like I had actually like just gotten out of the mental hospital. Like they kept
Hmm.
me 78 hours, which like worst hours of my life. Like, girls screaming and throwing up on themselves. And like that's when like it broke my heart. Like there was a girl in there actually that I was like, oh, like, what day do you think you're getting out? And she's like, oh, I was actually released, but and it broke my heart. And she's like, I have no where to go. And she's like, and I get food here. So like they told me I can stay another month. And I was just like crying. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, it it broke my heart. I'm like, oh my,
Hmm.
have no, and she was a pretty girl. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I even like said like later on, I'm like, I wish I could like see her, like, like because I'm like down the street from it. I'm like, I wish I could like run into her or something. And but at that time, I was also so like clouded and so much going on.
Yes.
Right when I got out, um, I started obviously like, doing regular therapy. And, he was like, what's something? And I'm like, art. Art's always been something that moves me, obviously, like tattoos everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
hold on. Let's talk about the tattoos. Cause I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I'm an outsider looking in, right? I'm like, she's beautiful. And I'm like, if you're beautiful, why would you just cover yourself with tattoos? So I want you to to explain to people like myself. I'm like, you're beautiful. And I'm like, why does she keep covering herself? Is she hiding from something or what's going on?
It was just a look that I always loved. Like, and and it's art. Like, I love it. And like this style, like I know a lot of people like don't, they're like, why is she like doing the scratching and the lines? Like it's more popular in Europe and I
Hmm.
admired it. Like I always loved it. And I tell people, I'm like, people forget like our ancestors did this. Like, like
Yes, the indigenous, because I seen that art on even on the Native Americans. And so when I saw it, that's what I thought.
Vikings, like literally, like all of them. So I started doing this, like, like obviously, like I just went through like a very traumatic experience. So, like, to me, like, this is also my healing.
Mm,
Thoughts that, like, even my friend told me, like, she's like, this is your new body, like, your armor. Like,
yes.
this is what's going to protect you. And she's like very spiritual. And so she's like, but we left little spots to like remind me of, my old life. Like, so like,
Yes.
so like I can like look in the mirror and say, okay, you know, that was then.
Yes.
This is now.
Yes. And
Yeah.
you're still beautiful to me regardless. But I was thinking, 'cause like I said, I'm just I'm an outsider looking in. But you're very beautiful. You're confident. I see the confidence in you and how you embrace your art, on your body. And it tells a story. Every tattoo tells a story. So I'm excited the fact that you're a mental health advocate. And I'm so sorry. So we're gonna go back to that part and the art.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, art, like I'm like, that was something. So I would stay up for days because I knew I wanted to do something different. I started painting and I was like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. And then I started going into, I was like blown away with like social media in the sense of like how many techniques or like how many different things you could do now.
Yes.
So with that, like I just started like ordering things and like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And that became my love, like was using chemicals to make like I would always love it. Even my mom reminded me. I loved she would take me to this little store and like, we didn't have much like money, like I said. So it'd be little moments of like, oh, I'm gonna buy you something. So I'd pick this like little rock store. So like I would love looking at the geodes that, you crack, they're like sparkling. So I saw online that, people were like recreating these, geodes like on canvases and using like the chemical to make it like crystallized. So it took me a while to get it down, a long time. I'm actually like, I still obviously like, we're never done with our work. Like, you
Yes. We're always
we,
growing. We're always growing.
so that's where that came from. Um, and it just, that's the moment that I feel the clearest. Like, like there's nothing in my head, there's nothing else going on. There's the trauma, the drama, it's gone. And I love that.
That's amazing. So, what do you have in mind? Like, are you already pre planning your 2023, Valerie?
That's a great question. I like, but yes, I would love to honestly open like a business. And I've been
Awesome.
this like I want like a mini art gallery to, even like I even thought about, a place where since I have a teenager, like a place where they can come and like they can just create art and feel like have somewhere to like hang out and instead of like having them on the streets or doing
Yes.
what they shouldn't be doing. So I thought about doing that and even like building them like a skate deck or deck. I don't
Yeah.
I don't
Skate deck. Yeah. So they can go skating.
So that's like an idea that I've been having for next year for sure. Like looking into buildings and seeing what's going on with that, and obviously creating more art and just pushing myself. Like I know I'm capable of so much more. Just right now, I've obviously hit a little hump, but like I have to remind myself, I'm like, I have two little boys that, are looking up to me, and I want them to know, like she tried, she pushed, and she created her empire.
And I know I have a friend. She's African American. She always says this word "ashe," and "ashe" is kind of like I told her it's kind of like "amen" for me. So when I hear you talking like that, the first thing that came out of my mind was "ashe," like I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. So do you know? Because the show is Purpose and Passion. Do you know your purpose on Earth right now?
My purpose right now is to make sure that my boys are unharmed,
Beautiful.
that they're safe, they know they're loved, they're taken care of, they're happy, and breaking a cycle of
Yes.
not having them in a nasty environment. As
Yeah.
much as people want to say it's a great environment,
Yeah.
but that's like my priority right now, and just getting myself back to work.
So would you say your passion is the art, or is it being the advocate, or is it both? Or what is
Because I want to be a bigger voice when it comes to it, because we were talking earlier, and it's like so many people are ashamed
Mhm.
and embarrassed of I have this mental illness, and there's nothing with that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Or just made different. And if I'm very functional, like people think it's like, oh my gosh, like someone's not going to function if they have.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't. You just obviously have to take steps to take care of it.
Yes.
It is a lot of work. I've gone, like, when I started my work, or that kind of work, it was like books after reading, putting things on the walls that say, like, take a breather, like, um count from 90 backwards. Like,
I,
when
I probably couldn't do that one. That would kind of be hard. I'd be like, can we start with 20 and go backwards?
yeah. So yeah, I was I how they put this name on us, and of course people are going to judge. Like I said, like we're almost not entitled also, like, to not get angry when we
Mhm.
right, because it's like, oh, she's bipolar,
Yeah,
she's
she's going through one of those episodes again.
yeah, and it's not fair.
Yeah,
We're allowed to also have feelings,
I agree.
and people just don't seem to get that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Miss Valerie. I'm very impressed by you. You're a very amazing woman with a huge heart. I love seeing your stories with your children. When you even do those, the stories on Instagram. I love seeing you being a mom. I love seeing you in your happy place with the art. And before I end the show, how can my viewers find you on social media? And then, last but not least, I would love you to give a message to the ladies and men that are experiencing domestic violence, and also give a message out to individuals that are dealing with different mental issues, that they know that they can function and they're still normal.
So my Instagram is Valerie Watson. It's Valerie_Watson 1904. Um and uh, this is a this one's a tough one, but whoever's dealing with domestic violence, I just say, you know, you got to leave. It's not going to get better. Like, I always thought it was, and it didn't. And yours, whoever's dealing with it, like you said, man, woman, like you're
Mhm.
stronger. Like you don't want it to be a cycle where your children see it if you do have children. Um, I've had friends that have lost their lives, you know,
Yes.
to it. And it's something that you just, you need to be in a healthy environment, or else, you're not going to grow, and you deserve to grow.
Yes.
And for the people that are struggling, like, with mental health, and, or, they're, what they got going on is the storm does pass, and you are strong for this. Yes. And no emotion is permanent, and you can fight this, and you got it. We got it.
That's right. We got it. That's right. Because we're people always feel they're alone, but they're not. And I'm gonna share this with you before I close off too, Valerie. I'm a woman of God, and when God, gives me a message, I share it. And I just wanted to tell you, Valerie, that God loves you. And I personally can feel him saying that you had a dark time in your life where you wanted to take your own life. And as your social media friend, I'm grateful that you didn't, because a person like you is very organic and it's hard to find. And I appreciate you sharing your testimony and being very transparent in you. And I just want to tell you, I love you, Valerie, and thank you so much for sharing your testimony with purpose and passion.
I love you.
I
Thank
love you back. Well, thank you, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo signing off with the beautiful Valerie. Man, I'm talking about being empowered, inspired, and teaching awareness. Today, Valerie did all of that and some. Have a blessed day, you guys.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.